Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were.
But as the story resurfaces, Trump's own words have become a moving target. In 2002, his view on Jeffrey Epstein was different.
2002, he told New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with." He even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. But once the world found out exactly what those women were on the younger side of, Trump changed his tune.
I wasn't a big fan of Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't want anything to do with him. I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Oh, I'd like to answer that question, at least today. I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Yesterday, he said he was surprised anyone even cares about the guy.
Now, the strategy seems to be to dismiss the story entirely. Call it boring. A hoax.
Why they would be so interested, he's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
The most powerful man in the world is blocking information about a cabal of the rich, the famous, and the royal, befriending a con man who regularly flies off in his private plane to his private island or do super illegal sex stuff. Then the con man is arrested. People are afraid he's going to name names, but before he can, he mysteriously dies right after being taken off a suicide watch in a federal prison during the administration of the guy who is blocking the release of the information. Boring!
But the public doesn't seem to think it's boring. In fact, people are far from satisfied with the information they've been given.
For some reason, you're still interested in finding out who's on Epstein's list. Don't be.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden information.
At 6:30 a.m. on the morning of July 23, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell. According to the BBC, the New York Medical Examiner officially ruled the death a suicide by hanging.
He didn't kill himself. This week, to quell the onslaught of demands for more of this information, the FBI released a video of the outside of Epstein's prison cell. But instead of quashing the conspiracy theories, it just created more because the FBI admitted the video has a missing minute.
And it's not hard to see why there's distrust, especially when key evidence like the security footage from outside Epstein's cell has pieces missing.
They were close friends. I knew in the 90s, people in Palm Beach were like, yeah, Trump and Epstein, man, they're always chasing pussy, young girls, this and that. This is not a secret. It was never a secret. What Epstein...
We all know that they were friends at least 10 years, and then apparently it's been reported that there was a falling out, and they were no longer friends. So of course they spent time together. That's what he says. But of course they've spent time together. There are pictures. It's well documented that they had a friendship, that they partied together. So this denial of even almost having this kind of relationship with him, or even being in the files, doesn't make sense.
And this brings up the central question that people are now wrestling with. Why even try to deny a past that everyone already knows is true?
The president now seemingly flipping his position. I do want the American people to recognize that this is nothing more than a game by the con man.
Representative Jasmine Crockett argues that behind the scenes, this is a classic Trump play. Run out the clock by burying the truth in legal proceedings.
So he gets to play both sides of it. He gets to then blame the courts if the courts then ultimately do what courts are supposed to do, which is to kind of follow the law. So he wants to say, listen, I tried, but it's the judges that wouldn't let me. And then
my next guest, as promised, is Maria Farmer. Says Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell sexually assaulted her. She says she saw Trump at Epstein's office late at night in 1995. She was 25 years old.
A 25-year-old artist named Maria Farmer had just been hired by the financier Jeffrey Epstein. One night, waiting alone in his dark office, she says she had an encounter that she would report to the FBI for years to come.
Right before I went in, before I began working for Epstein, he called me at very late in the evening and asked me to come up to the Helmsley Palace offices. And I didn't even have money for a subway token. It's kind of embarrassing. So I had to go running up there. And so I told Epstein, I'll be up there. It'll probably take me until like 9. He's like, okay. So I get there and I'm waiting. It's dark. Like there's no light on in the office. And then a few minutes later, this man walks in a business suit, kind of tall, imposing. And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? Epstein walked out from the offices on this side. Trump's standing here, I'm here. And he walks out of his office and he goes, oh, no, no, no. He was laughing at me. And he goes, she's not here for you. Follow me, right? And he escorts him in to this other room. And I always wondered, who was she in there? Was someone in there, right?
As Epstein led him away, Farmer says she heard Trump say something under his breath, something that she found deeply disturbing. The White House has denied Trump was ever even in Epstein's office.
Let's talk about this incident, alleged incident in 1993, where you say that Trump groped you in front of Epstein.
Yeah, he was dating Jeffrey. He was always talking about Donald. It was his bestie and everything. And he was joking about how Donald thought I was hot and Donald thinks I'm this or whatever. You know, we went up to his office in Trump Tower. Within a couple of minutes, Donald was outside of his door. And his hands were all over me. They were on my breasts, they were on my butt, they were on, my hips, up and down, while the two of them just kept having a normal conversation. I froze over and very quickly. It was a few minutes. And then we got back in the elevator and Jeffrey's energy had changed. We got out on the street on Fifth Avenue. And he looked at me and he just started yelling at me, saying, why did you let him do that? And he was so enraged. And then I remember thinking, like, why did I? I felt like I was coming back into my body at that moment. And I was confused.
So you have direct testimony from an alleged victim. You have a shifting narrative from the man she's accusing. And you have official evidence that appears to have been tampered with. The questions aren't going away. They're just getting louder.
Jeffrey Epstein's scandal surrounding President Trump is intensifying, fueled in large part by growing Republican defiance. Today, Todd Blanche, the second highest-ranking Justice Department official, met with Ghislaine Maxwell at a U.S. Attorney's office in Tallahassee to discuss the Epstein case. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year sentence after being convicted for her role in helping Epstein recruit, groom, and abuse underage girls.
As the DOJ interviews Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, we're seeing a disturbing shift among some MAGA faithful, some right-wing commentators appearing to defend Maxwell.
I do have a feeling that she just might be a victim. She just might be. She deserves to be out. And maybe she never deserved to be in there in the first place. I don't know, but I'm skeptical of everything and everybody these days, and you should be too.
Ultimately, this story is less about the past and more about a fundamental question for the present. Can power and influence permanently change the truth? Just a quick note before we continue. It's important for us that you know everything we're covering here. All the clips, the details are based on publicly available news reports and media, and we are following YouTube's community guidelines. If you appreciate this kind of detailed commentary, now's a perfect time to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. We'd love to have you.